fear now, for I am safe with you.
My son is Isaiah Patrick Pent. He was a culinary specialist on a submarine, and he was the youngest of 6 children, and we had a house full of children all the time, and, then when Isaiah turned 18, his was 17, his brother was the last one to leave the house, and then it was just Isaiah with our one handicapped child, and, things started to change. He was always such a loving, caring, family-orientated child. And then he got to where he didn't want his family, he wanted his friends. And we didn't know how to how to we didn't know how to feel about that. And we thought it was just he's 18, turning 18, he's getting a little freedom, he's got his car, he's driving. And then it just seemed like he just kept pushing us away. And all I wanted to do was to get him through high school to because I knew he would be leaving 2 weeks after graduation, and he had a couple of very heartbreaking heartaches from girls during his last 2 years of high school, and but there was just so many changes in that last year for him, and he joined the Navy, which he wanted to do all his life. He wanted to join the Navy, and he has a brother who was retired from the Air Force, and he had one brother, his biological brother, who was in the Army at the time. And my father was in the Army, so he really wanted to stay with the military, and so he left for the military. And my other two boys, when they were in boot camp, I got maybe one or two letters during their whole time. And we thought, oh boy, this is going to be hard with Isaiah because he wasn't a writer. And I got a letter almost every day from Isaiah, and always short and sweet, and always signed it, "Love your favorite sailor." And then we went to graduation, and he was so proud of himself, and we were so proud of him. He he just looked so happy, and looking back, none of us would have imagined he'd be gone. So after boot camp, he went to Kittery, Maine, where he was stationed on a ship or working on and off ships, and his letters at home started sounding different, and as we were FaceTiming, and they started seeming different. And I remember the first he had a big cut on his forehead, and I was like, "Oh, what happened, hon?" He said, "Oh," he says, "I'm just getting confused." He says, "The lack of sleep is just getting to me." He said he had to be up, and he was so afraid that when the alarm went off, he was disorientated and jumped up on his bed and cut his forehead on the and he didn't want to go to anybody for help because he said they don't care. And I was like, oh, honey. And then he just kept saying he wanted to come home. And he had a girlfriend that he had just started seeing in December. And we thought, okay, maybe this girlfriend's got him wanting to come home and this and that. And I kept saying, it's okay, honey. Just, you just push through it. You push through it. And he put in for a couple of leaves and they were denied. And then April, he said they were going to let him have a leave home before he went on his first deployment. And when he came home, I had broke my leg just 2 days before he got home, and I had to have surgery, so I was kind of out of it. And I did take him out for dinner the day before the surgery, and it was nice. And when he came home, the first thing he did was took a selfie with all of us. And he wasn't one that really cared to have selfies taken, especially with family. So that was just, we thought it was very special. And he came home for the purpose of going to his girlfriend's prom. And the night of the prom, they came, we took pictures. I was bedridden pretty much, so I hugged and did what I could. And he went to the prom. And he came home from the prom and said, "Okay, I gotta go." That was the plan. He was going to leave as soon as he got back to go back to base. And I was like, "Oh, is your friend out there?" I said, "Have him come on in the house." And he says, "No, plans changed. I'm going to meet him at his house." And I was like, "Well, then how are we going to get your car back here, your truck?" And I could see he was getting anxious, and I didn't want it, the last minutes to end with us having a disagreement. So I said, "Okay, go take the truck, and we'll figure it all out later, honey." And he just started almost walking out the door. I was like, "Hey, come back and give us a hug, honey." And he did. He came back and gave us each a hug, my husband and I, and then he left. And that was the last we saw of him. And we have so many what ifs and whys, uh, and I know if he knew the aftermath of what he left behind, I know he never would have done this. He was such a caring person. What I would like everybody to remember about Isaiah is how much he cared. I was a caregiver for 30 years and for private homes. And when he was little, he would ask to come with me. And he'd always make the people feel like they had a grandchild or something because most of them had no family. And he would come and talk with them and hold their hands. And he just had a caring heart about him. And this one man I remember that I cared for, Isaiah just really took a liking to this older man. And the man got put in a nursing home that was right by the school, his high school. And every day after high school, he'd get out and walk down to the home, nursing home and just sit with Harry for a couple of hours. And sometimes it was just for a couple of minutes. It was just to let him know that he had somebody that cared about him. And I used to think that's really, not many teenage boys would do that. And then another lady I cared for, he'd get out of school and she lived close by and he would go by and beep his horn for her or stop to see her, and I was usually there taking care of her, so he would stop and see us both. And she loved Isaiah. She was an old sailor herself, and she used to say, "Oh, if I was just 80 years younger," and he would get all blushed, and we came from a very close family, all of us, and we're all dealing in our own ways with this. His brother, that was in the army at the time, his biological brother, I feel he's struggling. He's a very quiet boy and doesn't talk much, and I think he's having some PTS because he wasn't here when it happened. And we had all family around us. And poor Jake was out there by himself. And even the night that he said he got the call, he had to wait till morning for somebody to wake up for him to go talk to. And like that's the kind of children I raised. They wouldn't just go and barge in somebody's room in the middle of the night. He said they needed their sleep, and he would just lay there and wait till morning. So I think he's struggling in his own ways. And my older boy, he's struggling in the fact that Isaiah had gotten distant the last months. And he had messaged him on Messenger and he didn't answer him back, or he read it and didn't. I don't know what it means by he left him on read. And he was very upset with him for that. And the day he came to bring me back from the hospital, he said Isaiah was sitting there in the chair and he didn't say hi to him or anything because he said I was mad at him and for not answering me. And it was just, stupid stuff that hindsight is just, it was nothing. So he's dealing with that hurt that he didn't say hello to Isaiah. And Isaiah's last few days home, he just seemed to want to sleep all the time. His first days, he was excited because he was going to go to the youth group and meet all his friends and he used to make beef jerky for everybody. That was his thing. He loved to cook. He would make cookies and beef jerky and always bring it to people. And his pastor didn't know he was coming, and he told me, I want to surprise him, mom, I'm going to bring him. And he spent the whole night making beef jerky. And so like that day was happy. And then one of his friends called and asked him if he wanted to go canoeing that afternoon, Friday afternoon. And I was sitting in the chair listening to the conversation. And he said, no, I don't think so. I thought, wow, Isaiah, that's very odd because usually your friends call and you drop everything. And he said, I'm just tired, Mom. I just want to sleep. I said, okay, I can understand, you're home, you just want to sleep. And that's all he did the whole weekend really was sleep. And he played with his nephew. His nephew was about 1.5 at the time. And I have a picture of him sitting on the couch. And he said to Isaiah said to my grandson, don't you worry, Uncle Isaiah is always going to take care of you, watch over you. He didn't think his father and I were proud of him. And he thought he disappointed us. And that is so far from the truth because of all our children, Isaiah was the most easiest to parent. And it wasn't, we couldn't even remember any disagreements until the last 6 months when he pushed us away and driving. I always wanted him home at night. And I just was always afraid that he was going to mess it up. Not that he would mess it up, but some girl would mess up his chances to go into the Navy. So I was kind of always careful for him to get home on time and stuff. And we have the pumpkin law here. You have to be home by 11 o'clock if you're if you're under 18. So I was really pushing that. But he was born on St. Patrick's Day. That was always a big party for us.